What's up? What's up? I'm here. Waiting for folks to join. Oh, this doesn't work? This sideways doesn't work? I don't know what to do. Alrighty. I guess this is gonna have to do. Let's hope this works. Ah, perfect. Perfect. Let's get some folks in here. Let's see if that works. Alrighty. It's Frankie being disrespectful. Just waiting for some more folks to join. Reflections, episode 2. Frankie. We're gonna go ahead and get started. We'll give everybody a couple of more minutes. Girl boss. Hey Sasha, thanks for tuning in, girl. How's y'all day been? Last week, we did really well. I got about 200 views total. But remember, during the live broadcast, we had like 8 people, which is great. It was a lot more than I expected, and it's appreciated. And I got a lot of feedback too. But we're gonna keep this going, and I'm gonna keep improving each episode. So today we are going to talk about Black womanhood. I know last week I said that we would talk about Black motherhood, but after reevaluating the scheduled plan for the show, I thought Black womanhood should come first. And Black motherhood, I moved to episode 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So while preparing for this episode, I realized that this topic is so deep. And I am really hoping for a lot of participation from the audience as I go ahead and get started with it. So you guys can guide me in the direction in which you would like me to take. A couple of announcements. First, I have an event March 7th. It's the Twerk dance event, and the burlesque dance event. So it's Twerking Hills with Viva La Vie. She'll be back. Our first event with her was this past October, and it was so dope. We had a blast. You know, we had the corporate bunnies in the first half, and then the second half we had the girls that come and turn up and turn out, and we had a blast. So the next time around, I'm definitely going to participate. This time I didn't. I think my nerves was too high because I actually put the event on. So I'm looking forward to that. The second thing is I have developed a course. It's called Lady in Development. So it's everything that you need to know on a very basic level about womanhood. So the class is catered to specifically for girls from like 13 to 25 ish. But I think anyone and everyone 5 to 50 could literally take advantage of this program, and you see a lot of value in it. Pre-sales start February 1st, and the course goes live on March 8th in recognition of International Women's Day. So everything we talk about here today, I want to say this, is I will provide a resource list on my website, AP Femininity, so that you know that the things I'm saying, it actually comes from somewhere. I didn't just pull it out of my backside. Secondly, I would like to create a book list for healing, and that'll also be on the website tomorrow. At some point tomorrow, it's just a book of a list of books that contributed to my personal development and me getting over a lot of the pain that I experienced in life. And I think most Black women have experienced some sort of trauma. All people have experienced trauma, but specifically us, we have books that can speak to it on a really deep level. So, are you guys ready to get started? Come on, invite people to come in, because it's still just the three of us while I sip on my juice. So yeah, we're going to touch on some good things. Single motherhood, healing, intersectionality. What do I have here? Subcultures of Black women. All of that. So, let's see. Tell me some things you guys liked or disliked about last week's episode. Today is MLK Day. You see me, well, I'm repping. Honestly, it's not MLK. It's a bunch of Black women, from Coretta Scott to Mary McLeod Bethune to Ida B. Wells, Sojourner Truth. Did I say Michelle Obama? Definitely Coretta Scott King. I got Rosa Parks down here. All right, so when it comes to Black womanhood, I think that we have a really difficult time admitting our pain. And I think that contributes a great deal to our personalities, right? And the energy that we put out into the world. And because of that, I think we put out a lot of negative energy, and we contribute to the false narratives that is that is taught about ourselves. I live in a world, I have like this duality, right? Where I'm in Hartford, Connecticut majority of the time, and then I come down here to the DMV area. And with that being said, I see very drastically different women, right? Black women in general. So I see, when I'm down here, I see these black women who are flourishing. Hey, Alicia, titanium heavyweights. Whoop, whoop. So, but I come down here, I live down here, and I see black women flourishing, right? Sophisticated, lovely, financially stable. Majority of them don't cuss. I've been working on that, but it's just not working. They contribute a lot to charity. They're married. So today, Alicia, the topic is Black womanhood, right? It's been a change. I know last week I said it would be Black motherhood, but it's Black womanhood. So come on, girl. Contribute. So the women down here, as I was saying, the women down here, they are amazing. And I really wish that was something that I saw up the East Coast, right? So I lived in New York City for a while. I lived in Dover, Delaware for a while. I'm originally from Hartford, Connecticut. And it's sad to say, like, a lot of women in the Hartford area are under distress, right? So because they're under distress, because there's a lack of resources, we tend to, and this is not just Hartford, right? You got women in Chicago, women in Atlanta. I'm pretty sure there's some women in this area too who suffer the same way. But it's just not conducive to our greatness. That's a good way of putting it, conducive to our greatness. This is a really tough topic. This is a really tough topic for me. And going from, growing up in the Hartford area to down here in the DMV, it was somewhat of a culture shock, but a wanted culture shock, because you were taught that, black women are struggling constantly, right? Whether they're single mothers, whether they're financially strapped, whether they can't get a hold of their sons, right? And you see all of this pain constantly. So the question that I asked myself while preparing for this week's episode was, and I know this is going to sound so simple, but who is your shero? So I've had a list of sheros, right, throughout the years. And what I've done myself was I would take bits and pieces of different women who I admire, right? Whether it be women I know personally or famous women or women who I know from afar, and bits and pieces of them, and create this person and who I want it to be, right? So like my grandmother, for example, she's so personable, and I always love that about her. So what did I do? I adopted that being personable, right? As much as I could. As the years went on, I kind of figured out what works for me from what doesn't work for me. But you guys get the point. And so the next question I asked myself was, if I was able to do that, why can't more women in our position do the same thing? All right, I see you. I appreciate the listen. So why can't more women in our position do the same thing, right? And I had a really great conversation with one of my sister friends, and she told me that where we come from, a lot of women just do not take it upon themselves to maybe like read books or look for certain type of information, right? And I found that to be sad, right? I'm getting to a point, I promise. And I realized again that we, like women in Hartford, are impoverished, and we are just a subculture of black women within the United States. How we live is not the norm for black women, nor is it the norm for women in general in this country. And it's not fair. So what do we have to do in order to improve our circumstances? That's a real question for anybody who wants to respond. What do we need to do in order to improve that circumstance? What do we need to do in order to, one, stop operating in pain, right? Two, I think a big thing that we do is select men who don't mean us any good. Men who don't mean us any good. And then that only makes our life even worse, right? Hang around friends who really don't like us. They're just around us because they're bored, right? How do we stop doing these things and stop causing ourselves so much pain? So when I say there's subset or subcultures of black women, right? We have black women who cosplay, right? So that's when they dress up like anime characters and go out into the world and whatever. We have the corporate queens, right? So we have the women who are educated, lawyers. Oh, Queen and Slim, right? Wasn't that chick in Queen and Slim an attorney? We have the military chicks, right? But we all come in different shape, size, and personality types. We have the housewives. We have, the show girlfriends, right? So think about the show girlfriends. You had the Tony Childs. You had the Joan Claytons. You had, oh my God, what are the other two? The Golden Brooks character, Maya, what's her name? I think her name was Maya. And then Portia, or Pressure, whatever her character, Lynn, Maya and Lynn, and each one of them had very distinct personalities, and they were all different, right? So those are different subcultures of black women. Is based off of like your personality, and then where you kind of fit in within that group. So, like I said earlier, this topic is really emotional for me, and I'm trying to keep from exposing myself. So I was really hoping that you guys would communicate a little bit more. Still nothing? Let me wave at some of you guys. Doot, doot. All right, so we're going to jump into the history then. So as we know, black women came to this country a lot of us came with Mansa Musa, right, in the 1300s, but majority of us were dragged here via slave ships, right, during the Atlantic slave trade. I feel like I'm beating a dead horse. But there were plenty of us who were already here prior to the Atlantic slave trade. But throughout the slave trade and trying to protect our sons from beatings and killings and same thing today, just same situation, just a new era of it. And we became fearful. A lot of us became fearful for our sons. A lot of even well-off black women still have to suffer. Like, there's a story that Ta-Nehisi Coates talked about in his book Between the World and Me. It was a book in where he actually wrote a long letter to his son, and he talked about a friend of his who went to Howard University. His mother was a doctor, his father was a doctor, and he was still murdered by Prince George County police. So we all still suffer the same fears, ultimately. looking over some notes. So back to the history. So once we actually really started to get our stuff together, Black women and our family structure, once we after slavery, when we started to get our lives together, a lot of our Black men were lynched, right, for taking the trades that they were taught during slavery and actually making a life out of it. If they had any type of money and they flaunted that money, they would then be murdered, right, by white supremacists and KKK in the town square. So that also caused more fear. Then I told you guys about this last week, but in about 1918, that's when they actually started to implement laws in different states and municipalities throughout the nation that would jail Black women if they were caught not working. Right. So that also took Black women out of the homes. In the 1930s, you had all of these laws put in place that Black people were not allowed to take advantage of. Right. So benefits for American citizens. Right. So mortgage benefits, tax credits, stipends that the government would give people so that they can actually lift themselves up. But Black people, well, they didn't say Black people, but they would say labor workers, right? Agricultural workers, domestic workers, right? And so that's basically what most Black people did. They aligned within that. They were coupled up in that group of people, so they weren't able to take advantage of those subsidies, which put us again in more of a financial bind. So now you fast forward, you get through the civil rights movement, you got women's liberation, and now they're flooding our neighborhoods with, you guessed it, drugs. And we're combating that. Then we flip it and we create crack cocaine out of the cocaine that they were providing us or whatnot. And now the government didn't like that Black people were creating their own way. So they ended up for, an ounce of crack cocaine or whatnot, you would get a life sentence, right? Which, and, when a cocaine in its purest form, you didn't get as much. Excuse me. Nowhere near as much time. So now this took a lot of the men out of the homes, right? Especially in the urban areas, which is Harlem, Brooklyn, Hartford. It's like, and that really is what turned our families around and turned a lot of women around, right? So now, well, you know what? I could say this, that there was also women in the 50s and 60s who suffered from abuse from men, right? So sleeping with their cousins, having babies by their sisters, like physical abuse, and that all contributed to where we are now. And so I think a lot of us, right, Generation X and Generation Millennials, we take on the pain of our ancestors, right, our predecessors, and our grandmothers and grandmothers, and we're not really even operating out of our own pain. And I think that is what really trumps me about us as a whole and our stance right now, is because a lot of us, we're not hurt because of something that happened to us. We're hurt because of something that our mothers told us that happened to them, right? Or how our mothers reacted based off of something that happened to them within their lives or whatnot. And that, I think that's holding us back the absolute worst, the most. We need to really focus on healing. So I think therapy, we need to really change that stigma of therapy in the Black communities. Especially with Black women. I know a lot of women who have had experiences being molested or worse, right? And yet they refuse to get therapy. But you can literally, just by talking to them, having a single conversation with them, you can feel the pain that they are experiencing day in and day out by living within their own skin, right? So if it's you, or if it's your sister, when I say your sister, I mean your homegirl, or anybody who is melanated or not melanated, and you see that pain within them, then like push them to get therapy, push them to really focus on their personal development. Hey Chelsea, welcome girl. You get a wave. So there's personal development workshops. I had my own experience. Like with each level in life that you go to, you are going to have to like shed a layer of skin, right? And so therapy is definitely something that that should be continuous. And there's a lot of resources out there for people who are low income and need those resources. You know what? I'll write that down. I'll create a list of resources, free or low cost therapy, right? And I'll post that on the website too tomorrow. apfemininity.com. And there's personal development workshops for whatever it is you're looking for. Like I participated in the Landmark Forum earlier this year, and it helped me get out of my own way. So again, like I said, for every area of life that you grow to, you are going to have to shed a layer of skin and become a better version of yourself. What else? When it comes to personal development, it doesn't matter what you have going on. There is a class for it. Anything that you need in life. Okay. You know, I grew up in a hub. We didn't really learn etiquette. There are classes for it. There's online classes for etiquette. There's in-person classes for etiquette, especially in Connecticut in the DMV area. Like anywhere, Connecticut is bougie as hell, first of all. So of course you're going to find etiquette training there. But in the DMV area, this is where you find a lot of like political folks. So there are a lot of programs here for etiquette. Anyhow, like I said, if whatever kind of training you need, Google it. You'll be able to find it. Who did I lose? You'll be able to find it. So I think a really big problem that we have through our pain is the fact that we exude a lot of like masculine energy. We don't live within our truth. And this is something that I talked about last week as well. We're not allowing ourselves to live in a vulnerable state, right? And so that's what makes us great as women, is our ability to live vulnerably, right? Talk about our feelings and have a high level of emotional intelligence, right? So this is something that for me was something that was innate, right? So when I say innate, I mean something that I feel like I was born with. I've always had the ability to connect with people and understand how they were feeling. As I got older, it was, I began to kind of think that something was wrong with that part of myself, right? So I started to act more like a man. And then as I got even older, I started to realize how valuable that particular trait that I had was, right? And I believe that all women are, I believe that all of us have that ability to connect with people, right? Almost immediately. If we allow ourselves to, and if we stop thinking that to be like a man is the best way to be. So I know with my generation specifically, I watch girls regularly put Timbs on. Why? Because the boys were wearing Timbs, right? Throw on a jersey. Why? Because the boys were throwing on a jersey. Walk a certain way and bop their head and twist their shoulders and do all these different things because that's what the boys were doing, right? Carry guns, right? Because that's what the boys were doing. Instead of living for ourselves and our own, what we value. But that's because our mothers didn't teach us what was valuable about us. So that's what we have to do for our daughters. Again, I know I'm all over the place today. This is a loaded topic for me. And maybe if I just get it all out, just vomit on this podcast today, then moving forward, it could be a lot more structured. Because when it comes to Black womanhood, it is so loaded. There's spirituality, there's sexuality, there's, healing, right? There's all the pain that we suffer regularly. There's working versus not working. There is Black men and how we're treated. It's Black womanhood in comparison to white manhood. There's so many levels to it. And there's so much pain, right? You can sit here and just cry your eyes out based off of the struggles that we encounter on a daily basis. And the fact is majority of us, not majority of us, it's just as a generalization, we don't have guidance. And we need really good guidance moving forward. And so now this is the year 2020. So certain things that was acceptable in 1990 and even in the year 2000, we can't do no more, right? We can't go ahead and have these babies and be single mothers, right? We can't continue to choose men who are crappy, right? Because there's no reason for it. There's no reason for it. There's no reason for you to walk around with all of this pain and push all of that into the world, push all of that energy into the world, and make everybody else hurt because you're hurting, right? There's no reason for it, right? There's no reason for you to walk around and be hating on your sister friend, right? Because she got something that you don't have, right? There's no reason for you to be hanging out with people you don't like, right? There's no reason for you to be sitting on the front porch drinking. There's no reason for you to be walking around smelling like cigarettes, weed, and alcohol, right? There's no reason for any of that. There's no reason for your hygiene to be bad. There's no reason. It's 2020. Everything that was acceptable before that is toxic and destructive is no longer acceptable. No longer acceptable. I know I'm getting hot, right? So where are we? So one big thing is I was watching Little Mo, I believe it was last week on the Breakfast Club, and she made this statement that resonated with me so much. Because I see it every day within my sisters. And she was talking about her husband and how he was raised off survival and not off of love. And when I tell you, honey, that was deep. That was deep, because that is something that I see every single day within my sisters, right? When I say my sisters, I say other Black women who are really struggling, because, they didn't have their fathers in their lives. I didn't have my father in my life either. I had several men, actually, if you count my uncles and stuff, who stepped up to the plate and took over. And regardless how much I fought against them, they were like, nope, I'm here. But I was one of the lucky ones, right? So they got daddy issues. Then you got your mother who didn't really have her life together. So she got mommy issues now too, right? Because the mother had issues that she never got healed from. We're not doing that anymore. We are going to therapy. We could go to group therapy. We are really focusing on our personal development this year. And what you can get is, what do you call them? Surrogate, right? I was gonna say, you carry a baby for another person. You can go and get a surrogate parent for yourself. Somebody who is going to love you just for being you, and give you what you need, right, in order to help you move past that pain that you've experienced, right, from your own parents, because everybody has a parent issue. Right. We have a relentless desire for love, which causes many of us to choose bad relationships. I wrote that. So, we gotta stop choosing bad men, right? Bad men, and we gotta stop glamorizing struggle love is what, right? That's what people are calling it now. Struggle love, where we are teaching our daughters that it's okay to get with the dude up the street who is selling drugs, when who in the hell at this in 2020 is actually making money selling drugs in the hood? I want to know. I really want to know. You know what I mean? And if it's happening, I really would like to know, because I ain't hating on them, but who is really making money at this point, right? We know the cycle. The cycle is, somebody give him $100. He go ahead and get his little, excuse me, my phone's falling. He go ahead and get his little 8-ball or whatever it is. And then, he try to flip it. He probably try to cop Chris, right, with the little $500 or whatever he made off of that little 8-ball. And so since he not taking you out, he not doing anything for you. Hey y'all just contribute, y'all. Contribute. The topic is womanhood. It's a really tough topic for me, but I definitely wanted to address it. So, hey, Nicole. Hey, Kiana. Hey, Ty. We're going to wave at everybody. Ooh. Boop, boop, boop. There we go. So where was I? Right. So anyhow, bottom line, I'm not going to tell y'all how I know a little bit about the drug game. I'm not going to tell y'all any more about what I do know. But bottom line is, he can't do anything for you, right? At some point, he's going to end up in jail or whatnot. And then what are you going to be doing? Talking to him through a glass window. And we're not doing that. We're not doing that anymore. We're not doing that anymore. That's just we're not happening. We're not about to be any ride or die chicks. Nope. It's not happening. We are not, financing some dude while he get his life together. We're not financing some dude while, he does his whole rap career, right? He tries to push forward this rap career or whatever, but yet he refused to leave the state of Connecticut or whatnot to go, because I'm all about dreamers. Don't get me wrong. I'm all about dreamers to do your thing, but you have to make certain things happen for your dream. You know what I mean? So, we're not glamorizing struggle love for our daughters anymore, right? So we need to push them to choose men who are the ones who are focused, right? And even if they need a little bit of help, right? Because we all need help because of our circumstances, because if we come from bad circumstances, so there's a really good chance that they're coming from bad circumstances too, but they have to have, when they're young, I'm talking about 18, 19, 20, and they show things, like vision and intention, right? Integrity, and confidence in his weaknesses and his strengths, right? Then those are men or boys that our daughters can actually work with to start building up, and they can work together to build a great partnership in life or whatnot. But as far as, and even, I don't care if you are 40 right now and you out here looking for a man or whatnot, you need to look for these things. A dude who's out here and he can't do the most basic of things. And I don't care what you say. If you say, oh, well, I was lied to, he lied to me, or I didn't know, like, those excuses are no longer acceptable. Ooh. Those excuses are no longer acceptable, right? And we have to teach our daughters much better. We have to teach them their worth. We have to learn our worth so that we can then teach our daughters our worth, right? Because Black women, we are legit the creator of nations, right? So the woman Lucy, who they found, who's 2,000 years old, they found her in Africa. You know what that means? Every single person that you see walking around, white, black, yellow, orange, green, purple, blue, came from an African woman. And is just currently devoid of melanin, so that makes you just that much more special. What I am going to do over the next several days is post up different videos and things for you guys to really like watch, to see, and share, please, to see how valuable we are as Black women. Like nothing moves without us, right? We are the culture creators. We created mankind. Nothing moves without us. And when it comes to men, whatever we decide, men will adapt, right? It's not the other way around. It's not the other way around. If we say, I want chicken dinner tonight, but I don't want to cook. You know what I mean? Like that is, he's going to make that happen for you. You know, it's not the other way around. So just because you have this desire for love, know that you are worthy of love, but the right kind of love, not the toxic type of love or whatnot. You know what I mean? You deserve a man who is kind, who is giving, who is sweet or whatnot, who is a protector, a provider, and a pursuer. But again, for you to know that that's what you deserve and for you to know your worth, you have to really focus on your healing. What else? Does anybody want to contribute? Because I'm just running in on this tangent right now. And I was really hoping to get a lot of interaction today. Oh, I got this right here. So let some Hotep men tell it. We both need to work to build up the financials for the Black families and prepared our kids, and I prepare our kids to kind of go off into the world and be successful. So you have some Black men, again, a subculture of Black men who believe that we as Black women should carry the full load, right? So strong Black woman, no spaces, right? And that's not fair. That's not fair, right? So if he then protects and provides or whatnot, then you can then, handle your situation as a woman. Like you can then make sure the kids are well taken care of or whatnot, and that you are instilling really great values in them. So tell me, guys, who are some of your sheroes? I'll list some of mine. And it doesn't matter. She doesn't have to be Black. She can be anything, right? Like, I have Angela Davis, Black Panthers, Sojourner Truth, Zora Neale Hurston, Michelle Obama. I used to really love Jackie O. I read several books on her, and she really didn't pan out to be who I had made her up in my head to be. Jackie O is Jackie Kennedy. Who else that I did not write down? Diane Carroll, of course. I used to really love Kimora Lee Simmons. Beyonce. And I have some other women too who they're not American. And so there's no real need to mention them, but anything, who are some of your sheroes? Kiana, who's your shero? Well, I'm going to get ready to close out. I do want to say this before I go, though, about just overall. What I have to teach, preach, or whatnot, it's not for everybody. I'm not everyone's cup of tea, and that is perfectly okay. I love... Aw, thanks, Ty. Thanks, Ty. He said I'm one of his sheroes. But back to my spiel. I'm not everybody's cup of tea, and I recognize that my message is not for everyone. And it's not intended to be, right? It's for the ones who actually can connect with what I'm saying, right? So women who have the same experiences or similar experiences as me, or other women who I've studied and don't know how to be better or need some sort of push to be better. Or, me and my right? want to see all my sisters be great. And the reason that I focus this particular podcast on Black women, I plan to start a whole nother podcast. The truth is I actually was planning the Queen Strategies podcast, which was geared towards all women, to launch in January 2020, but I go where my spirit takes me, right? And my spirit took me to this, and I was provided with the name of the podcast, the date, everything. And right now, I don't know what I'm doing, but I knew that this is what I was supposed to do. And I'm just going to kind of keep going with the way that the wind takes me as far as this. But I do still intend on starting the Queen Strategies podcast. However, for this one is literally to focus on our healing, right? As majority of the people in this group is Black women, I'll welcome Black men as well, as long as they're positive. And the focus is that we can be better, right? We can improve. I'm not attacking anybody. If anyone ever feel attacked, feel free to reach out and say, hey, I feel attacked, and we can completely talk through it. But I am here for those women who want to improve their circumstance, right? And I can tell you what I feel like, what I've done, and what I feel like where the yellow brick road leads, how to be great. And there's a lot of things that I've learned over the years that if I had known when I was 16, 17, 18, I could have completely jumped. I could have catapulted to a whole nother level in life. But I'm getting there, right? This is my journey, and whatever I can do to help you, that is what I am. That is what I'm here to do. So again, I'm not everybody's cup of tea, right? And I'm also the kind of person who can read people. So when you're talking to me and I see that you are expressing pain, you are speaking from a place of pain, I'm going to tell you, sis, you are speaking from a place of pain, right? And we need to figure out how to get you out of that place of pain and work towards a place of glory, right? A place of happiness, a place of like a full life, whatever that looks like, right? But certain things as a unit, we just can't accept anymore, right? And I'm underlining single motherhood. I'm not here for it. That's done. Because that has been proven time and time and time again that it's not working. We are legit producing shitty kids, bottom line. And everybody can say, oh, well, I came out okay, but did you? And not to say that 2-parent households don't produce some crappy kids too, right? But those are usually people who are not healed. Aaron Hernandez, did we all just see that documentary? He had a 2-parent household. His parents were crappy, specifically his mother, and he had to deal with that. So again, I have reloaded the dance event March 7th. The easiest way to tap into your femininity and the quickest way is through dance. So come out and let's have a great time. There's complimentary wine and water because you will need that water. And I have developed a course, Lady in Development. Pre-sales start February 1st on apfemininity.com. And you'll actually get a really great deal if you get ahead of the game. And the course will launch March 8th for online versions. So if you guys don't have anything else, I'm going to get out of here because I just spent 50 minutes talking about a bunch of stuff. I had 2-parent household, and boy, was my childhood screwed up. Laugh out loud, but no. No, I understand. That's what I'm saying. It's not everybody, right? But that's why it's multiple. There's multiple levels to it. We have to heal, right? And then we have to think about the kind of lifestyle that we want our kids to grow up in and create that, right? So I have a friend who I sat with actually yesterday, and I was talking to him, and she was telling me how, her situation, her and her husband would basically operate in the exact same way that their parents operated, but she didn't want that. I'm like, okay, well, you have to start operating differently, right? Operate based off of what you want, not what you saw. Because we know at this point that what we saw was crap. was crap, you know, and a lot of it was government orchestrated. I know that sounds crazy, but it's the truth. It's the truth. You're going to have to come for the free wine. Yeah, you can, and bring your camera. Bring your camera, Ty. Okay, so nobody, last call for alcohol. Nothing. Who's your sheroes? What do you look for in a spouse, in a man, in a spouse, I guess, because all right, again, visit apfemininity.com. Tomorrow I will have up a book list, right, for your healing and your growth. A resource list based off of the stuff that I talked about today, because sometimes I know I can just come off the cuff with things that I know, but I do want you to have the opportunity to research some more of these things on your own. And what else did I say that I was going to have? I should post up for you guys. Remind me, what else did I say? Whatever it was, I'll have it up there tomorrow. Anything? All right, so next week we are going to talk about black men. Not to say, oh yeah, people love to watch to be nosy and not talk. Duh, we know that. But that's perfectly fine. Last week I got, maybe like a total of maybe 15 views, like off and on. But when I checked today, it was about 200 views of my last week's episode. Oh no! Oh, I almost ended the view. Hey Mercedes. We're closing out, girl. It's the tail end of it. But I am saying this. Next week is Black Manhood. Again, this podcast is progressive in nature. So we are going to build up to the Black family / Black community episode. And please provide me with feedback so that I can continue to improve. Because this is my first time doing it. I have no guidance. You guys are my guidance. You are late, girl. I'm sorry. I'm closing out now, but I'm glad that you did make it in. So Black Manhood. I have a lot to say about that one. I think with every episode we will touch a little. I know for a fact we will touch on Black womanhood. So that's why this episode was a bit tough too. But I am really excited to be here. I'm happy for you. I'm happy you guys are watching. And again, next week, Black Manhood, same time, same place. Bye.